So I got quite the response to my last video on 2010s trends that millennials, you need to come to the front and atone for these fashion sins. I got one comment that had my wheels churning. And basically it reminded me that 2000s millennial fashion trends were way worse. Which of course they totally were. However, I don't think the topic of 2000s fashions is going to hit as hard and as hilarious as the one on 2010s fashion trends did, because 2000s fashions right now are considered vintage. So as you know, fashion trends go in cycles. So 2020s fashions right now are looking back on the 2000s fashions. 2010 fashions, we're looking back on the 90s, and 2000s fashion, we're looking back on the 80s. Much like them pumpkin spice latte trends of the 2010s will be lauded in the 2030s. So I do think it's gonna be a little hard to roast 2000s fashion, seeing as how Gen Z and some of the older Gen Alpha kids are wearing it right now. Plus, some of these fashions I hadn't even thought about in 20 years, but I shall attempt to roast. And also, shout out to the Gen X folks who might have felt a little left out in the last video. You gonna come to the stage in this one too. So here are 7 trends that millennials and Gen X need to explain right the f now. Now the first trend, and these ain't in any particular order, although, it does get pretty bad when we get to the last one. But the first trend, trucker hats. Now, I had to, do some self-reflection here, because I was like, are you just hating on this trend because your big ass head could never fit into one of them trucker hats? And I might be hating just a little bit. However, them trucker hats still were a stain on 2000s fashion. So let me set the stage for you. Something about 2000s fashions were giving, like, everybody dumpster dived to get their outfits, right? Then they rolled around in the dumpster juice whilst wearing their outfits, and then they threw on some makeup, put on some body glitter, and then maybe they splashed a little love spell from Victoria's Secret, or a little CK1, or a little Britney Spears fantasy on top of it, and then they would top all of that off with a trucker hat. And them joints were everywhere thanks to the clever marketing of whoever was in charge of marketing the Von Dutch back there. They had a go-to guy. I don't know if you guys saw the Von Dutch documentary. I think it's on either Netflix or Hulu. Very interesting watch, but they had this one dude that was going around and getting everybody in Hollywood to wear these trucker hats. And when I say everybody in Hollywood, I mean everybody in Hollywood. They had Jay-Z, Beyonce, Ashton Kutcher, Christina Aguilera, Gwen Stefani, Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie, Megan Good, Coretta, Megan Good. So like I said, I personally did not partake in the ubiquitous headwear trend. However, that's because dome for days. However, did you participate in the trucker hat trend? Let me know in the comments. So number 2, Farrah Fawcett feathered hair. So as I mentioned before earlier in this video, damn near everything comes back every 20 years. So a lot of the fashions that we were wearing in the 2000s were rooted in things that came from 1980s popular culture, with a little sprinkling of 70s in there. And we particularly saw a hair trend that echoed from big feathered hairstyles like that of Farrah Fawcett and some of the glam and hair metal bands of the 1980s. Now, I know what some of y'all might be thinking, and no, it was not just the Blair Warners and the Kelly Kapowskis of the world wearing these hairstyles. It was also us. In his 2001 song, Put Your Hands Up, Jadakiss also gave a shout out to the look when he said, double R, so of course it's better. I love cornrows and Farrah Fawcett feathers. Y'all remember that song? I'm gonna play just a little tiny bit for you. Put your hands up, nah, that, put your hands down. This look. That was a good album. I ain't gonna lie, that was a good album, that Jadakiss, Kiss the Gang Goodbye. Mwah. But anyway, my fellow elder millennials like Kelly Rowland and Keisha Cole, and there were Gen X celebs like Mary J. Blige and Gabrielle Union, who also rocked this look. Now, the 2000s version of this, I would say, was not as round and fluffy as the 80s version. It was a little bit more pointy, where like you took the flat iron and just kind of like, I'm not that great at styling hair, clearly, but you just kind of, or you took a curling iron and and kind of flipped it or whatever. You know, I did partake in this trend, you know, for a little bit with my limited hairstyling skills. I'm gonna put a picture up here. The reason why I look like my face looks so mean, I wasn't unhappy or whatever. My best friend at the time, he was a damn fool. He probably had said something crazy. You know how guys in college, I think we were in either just graduated from college, but you know how guys in their 20s are. So I was just like, that's me with the flip. Anyway, what did you think of the Farrah Fawcett feathers? Did you rock it? Were you like, ooh, hell no? Let me know all about it in the comments. Number 3, and let me know if this was a regional thing or if you also saw it, if you're from outside of this region and you saw it and you was like, I can't believe my eyes that this is happening here. And that is denim skirts with Uggs. I would see this all the time in a lot of the gossip magazines, which was our, I guess, like our Shade Room and Hollywood Unlocked and whatnot of back in those days. However, I would always think of it as just something that people in California did because the climate there made sense for it. Because I just could not wrap my New York City brain around having all of my leg skin exposed with the mini skirt and then having my feet be on fire from the Uggs. And these were ankle length Uggs at that, which if you follow my other videos, you know that horizontal lines tend to shorten and widen. So sometimes that wasn't always the best silhouette for some of us out there, but the celebs was rocking it. They were rocking it. Regular people were rocking it too. I didn't remember seeing this so much like in person here in New York City, but it was definitely pictures of the celebs online and in gossip magazines. Now, I do find some solace that I have not seen Gen Z copy this trend, at least not yet. Come on, Gen Z, don't do it, Gen Z. Because it just doesn't make any sense. Did it make sense to you or no? Let me know your thoughts on the denim skirt with the Ugg boots trend in the comments. All right, number 4, all them goddamn layers. Why were we layering so much in the 2000s? It's like you would wear a pair of jeans and then you would throw a dress over it and then you would add a belt and then maybe a crop jacket and then a freaking hat, and then it's just like, why were we doing this? Why did we feel the need I don't recall there being an economic turn down around this time, because it wasn't 2008 yet. This is before the 2008 recession. Was there something in our economy, or were we feeling unsafe in our homes that we felt the need to wear every piece of clothing we had on our bodies? Why? So I don't remember partaking in this trend, and if I did and there's some sort of photo evidence, I don't know, y'all might not be able to find it because I don't even know it. I couldn't tell you where my Nikon Cool Pics is these days. Did you partake in the layers and all them damn layers trend? Let me know in the comments. All right, number 5. Oversized white tees. I don't know who told men that this was cute, but you couldn't tell them nothing about them white tees because they was like, oh, with my white tee, oh, you know, like everything was so oversized in men's fashion in the 2000s. It was like a guy could regularly be small or medium in clothing, but when it came to that white tee, that dude would take the 5XL for no reason. And then it would pair it with these oversized baggy jeans sagging, you seeing the underwear in the back, the oversized jerseys, like everything was so oversized for men's fashion in the 2000s. Perhaps it's because of hip-hop becoming more mainstream back then and having its effects on overall culture, because you saw people like 50 Cent, Eminem, Jay-Z, Nelly, etc. rocking this look. But then, you know, typically when things go a little too far on one end, the pendulum tends to swing in the other end, and that's what we saw happening as we got into the 2010s with men's fashion. Sometimes things will get a little too young as time went on. You know what I mean? Anyway, did you rock the oversized white tee? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments. Number 6, flip-flops as real shoes. Yo, this trend got way out of hand. And I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I ain't even gonna lie. I cannot tell a lie. I was wearing flip-flops as shoes at many points in the 2000s. Actually, I'd have on a pair of like those $200 jeans, you know, the dojos with the big, you know, the nice pockets and everything, and the trouser pants making everything look all slim and nice and whatnot, with a pair of $1 flip-flops. Remember when people would go crazy when Old Navy would have their flip-flops on sale for $1, and you had to go up on that wall of flip-flops and find your size in every color of the rainbow to go with your outfits. Like, it was out of hand. But to think back, yo, that was wild how well, I can't even say we, because I'm gonna call myself out, how I was traipsing, gallivanting the streets of New York City, the dirty streets of New York City, on the subway with my feet just out, exposed, unprotected, getting all kinds of clap and other VD on my feet, just raw, dogged, just open, available, vulnerable. I mean, I lived in Queens back then too, so I mostly drove, but I was definitely out in these. I remember being in the club. Was I in the club with flip-flops on? Now, let me tell you one thing I did not do. So back in the day, I want to say sometime around 2004, I didn't last at this job very long because, well, long story, but I was a sales assistant at Solomon Smith Barney, which was a part of Citigroup where you would have these brokers that would manage people who had mad money, mad money. So I was an assistant to somebody who managed a portfolio from people who had millions of dollars to invest, right? So at one point I needed to hire interns. So I was conducting interviews, interviewing interns. Y'all, why this girl came into the interview with, she wore business casual, so she had on a little cardigan with a shell and a little dress skirt. Why she had flip-flops at the interview? Anyway, let me know your thoughts on flip-flops as real shoes in the comments. One other thing about these flip-flops, they're at a point. We got a little bougie, we got a little big for our britches with the flip-flops as shoes. And then people started wearing like the bougier flip-flops, like the Javianas and the Tory Burch flip-flops, but they were still flip-flops. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, before we get to number 7, we got some honorable mentions or dishonorable mentions, I should say. Dishonorable mention number 1, them pointy shoes. Now, for some people, you could benefit from that type of elongation of your foot. Me, however, at 5'9", and I've been 5'9" for a long time. I feel like I've been 5'9" since I was 10 years old. 5'9", wearing a size 10 shoe, and I was skinny and long, you know, in my early 20s. Well, skinny to me. Them pointed shoes did me no favors. They just had me looking like a beanstalk. Dishonorable mention number 2. Now, I'm gonna leave the name of these up to interpretation because y'all ain't canceling me, okay? But these slippers, I don't know where they came from, who first introduced us to them, but I feel like one day I woke up and everybody in New York City had these on in different colors to match their outfits. We were going to get a $10 doobie wrap from a Dominican salon. We were wearing them to, you know, go to the grocery store real quick. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Did I wear these to the club? Maybe. But the thing is, what I don't understand about these shoes, they were so flimsy and not that easy to walk in because like your foot would kind of slide on this. Why were we wearing these? And was it just us in New York or did they have them near you? You let me know in the comments. Yo, I just had a flashback. I think I had a gold pair. That was like my dressy pair of these shoes. Oh my God. Dishonorable mention number 3, the small baguette bags. Now, the Fendi baguette was a very popular bag trend in the early 2000s, which I'm sure people will tell you that it became very popular because of Sarah Jessica Parker's Carrie Bradshaw character on Sex and the City, but I'll give it to her. But she wasn't the one who came up with the nameplates and stuff like that. That was us, okay? But anyway, enough about her. The thing with this, a lot of bags were very tiny in the early 2000s. There was that Prada bag that I can't think of the name, but I remember my sister went somewhere overseas where things were a lot cheaper than, I don't remember if she was in Europe, if she was in Asia, but you know, you can go to a foreign country and designer goods are a lot less expensive there than they are here because by the time you have to pay to import, export, you know, isn't that the third order, the price goes up and whatever. So the little Prada bag was probably about this big, and then the handle didn't come that much far off of the bag. We were wearing a lot of these little tiny bags. I also had a Louis Vuitton one, Louis Vuitton Pochette, that at the time I think was $500 or $600, and I remember getting it at the Macy's at Roosevelt Field. And I remember putting my Macy's credit card down to get this thing, and it was the most expensive thing I had ever bought at that time. But I definitely want to make sure I had my Louis Vuitton bag. Now the thing with these little bags is, all right, obviously there's a time and a place for little bags. Little bags had a resurgence very recently as well. But for whatever reason, we were taking these little ass bags and wearing them on our shoulder like this. Why were we doing that? And some of us were very tall doing that. Dishonorable mention number 4, marquee belts. I really hope that this was definitely a regional thing, but again, as a youth in the early 2000s, this might have been more mid 2000s. I can't recall when this became a thing, but these freaking marquee belts was like, you would like having a big name belt, but instead of the name part, there was a freaking Times Square marquee on there that would broadcast whatever, I guess your name, maybe a message to your boo at the time. I don't know what the hell people had on these marquee belts, but they were definitely a thing. I don't know if they were a thing outside of New York City. That's where y'all gonna come in. That's where y'all gonna come into play and let me know. If you had a marquee belt, you definitely need to come to the comments and explain that one, please. You know, out of love though, because you know, we jokingly, we playfully tease each other here. We ain't trying to, you know, be nasty to each other in here. Now, the number 7 trend that Millennials and Gen X need to atone for is them super low-rise jeans with the thong hanging out from the back, purposely being shown. Fashion in the 2000s, especially the early 2000s, was all about showing off your midriff. You were wearing these very short crop tops and halter tops, and then the jeans were low. They got low, they got low, they got low, okay? That was the look. It was all about the torso, the torso, the torso. Me, myself, personally, I definitely had a lot of these low-rise jeans. I started out with brands like Mud and LEI. Oh my God, do they still make Mud and LEI? But if we gonna be honest, you know, like I said, I feel like I've been 5'9" since I was 10 years old. That the inseams on those weren't doing me any favors. A lot of the jeans were also very wide leg, very trouser. But then, you know, in the early 2000s gave rise to a lot of these designer jeans, and those came with longer inseams, thank the Lord. So I was able to have my, you know, my low jeans and have my ankles be properly covered. Sometimes I would get jeans where the inseam was like super long, even when I had heels on, which I was like, yo, that never happens to me. Then what typically happens with fashion is that things get taken way too far. So them rises just kept getting lower and lower. Plumber's crack was all up and through. The thong was part of the outfit. And you know how we knew the thong was part of the outfit and not accidental is because people would be wearing these bedazzled thongs that were meant to be seen. And some people were showing a thong that wasn't meant to be seen, but they meant for you to see it. It was between the flip-flops and the feet all naked and vulnerable and out, and then your butt cracked just naked and out and vulnerable. Ooh, what a nasty time. Now obviously low rises are back. Gen Z is wearing them, and there's nothing inherently wrong with a low rise. For some people, particularly if you have a shorter torso, you might appreciate a lower rise. And of course, low rises are back now. They've been back. Gen Z is all on the trend, which is to be expected. Now, my fellow olds, you might want to come close so you can listen and hear, maybe turn the closed captions on. I know sometimes the senses kind of dwindle as we get a little older there, you know, but come close, listen up. If you were of age when a trend first came out and it comes back again, you might want to consider sitting it out. Just consider. Because what happens is when you start wearing the clothes of your heyday, and your heyday was 20 years ago, it kind of gives, you don't want to let go. It's kind of giving Al Bundy and I scored 3 touchdowns at Polk High or whatever the hell Al Bundy used to say was his claim to fame. It gives that you're holding on to the olden times. However, if some of these trends from back then flatter you, for instance, the lower rise jeans, we talked about skinny jeans from the 2010s, if those are things that flatter you, wear it. Duh. However, you're not going to style it the way that we did back then. You're gonna give it a more elevated 2024 look. So if you're gonna wear your low-rise jeans, I beg you to not pair it with a trucker hat and pointy-toed shoes with a bag, with your baguette up here. I beg you to not do that. Please don't do that. Because then you're gonna wind up looking like that Steve Buscemi character that was in the high school dressed up like a kid and was like, hey, what up, my fellow kids? Which trends did you question in the 2000s? Let's get all chitty chatty about it in the comments. And if you want to see some more cringy millennial fashion trends, check out this video right here. However, if you're in the mood to tussle, you might want to check out out this video right here, because in that video, I'm talking about how the fashion girlies are telling us not to wear certain things. And you know, so if you want to tussle, get over here. Whichever one you choose, I'll see you there.